Hey guys, welcome back. Learn for Two podcast. This is Henderson. Thank you, as always, for tuning in and sharing your time with me. I do appreciate that. Today, we're heading back to the local business owners interview series that we have here. And today we have Michael from Maidpro Henderson. Michael, how's it going today?
Hey, doing awesome. Good to be here, Brandon.
Awesome. Well, I will say that we started off this interview about 45 minutes ago, and we just got into talking, and it was great to kind of get to know each other a little bit more. It was a little bit outside of just regular business, but we want to kind of hone it in now and talk a little bit more about you, about your business, and kind of what got you to this point that you're at now, and exactly what Maidpro Henderson is.
Sure, yeah. So like you mentioned, my name's Michael. I own Maidpro Henderson. It's a professional home cleaning company based in the heart of Green Valley. We're on Windmill and Green Valley Parkway. That's what I like to say anyway. Affiliated with a franchise. Maidpro's been franchising for about 30 years, about 275 locations between the US and Canada, based out of Boston. And so I've been affiliated with a brand for about 2 years. And so little by little, we started with 0 clients, 0 employees, the walls were not this color, and all that. And now here we are today. So it's, coming up on 2 years serving customers in October. And so that was great. As a kid, I was the one with a lemonade stand on the corner trying to make things, happen, and didn't, but fought the fight and ended up coming to Las Vegas in 2005, attended UNLV, studied hospitality and actually casino management. Was involved with a variety of different things on campus, and then also as an alum, sitting on the Alumni Association Board of Directors for a number of years, and then working in the industry. I was on the various teams at Station Casinos for 6-7 years, and then kind of transitioned into this with a couple things in between. And but I've always wanted to own my own thing and kind of build it out, and so it's really been neat to be part of a franchise where you get kind of a best of both worlds. You're an independent operator backed by the power of the brand, is what I like to say. And so far so good.
Awesome. Quick side note on that, talking about your hospitality experience.
Yeah.
How do you think that has helped groom you to be a business owner and treat clients or potential clients, or even your employees as well?
Thank you. I think it's definitely part of our competitive edge. And, I like saying, having a hospitality heart, approaching all this stuff, when that's a key piece and a key pillar of when we're looking to hire, someone that is interested in hospitality and customer service and kind of has that knack, that's a critical component, as well as same for those customers, right? Like there's a handful of people that really are looking at home cleaning and could look at home cleaning or really any other home services as a very transactional experience, right? Mm-hmm. My home is dirty. I need you to clean it. And so we will do some of that, but really the people that we're trying to do is build a relationship, right? It's ongoing, roughly, 75% and hopefully soon, closer to 90% of our business is recurring customers. So we're looking for that once a month, every other week, once a week customer. And so you're constantly in their home. You're getting to know their kids, their pets, how they like, where the toothbrush goes, all that stuff. And so I think ultimately, we're trying to build those relationships, and coming from a hospitality and customer service background has helped, us have a competitive edge against some of the other players in the space.
Yeah, I would have to say that it, like when you say it's a kind of a transactional, I would say it probably quickly moves from transactional to very personal. Because I can't imagine. I mean, I know some people that will like get their stuff ready before the cleaning. I got to clean before the cleaning company comes, and you're like, what's the point? But I have to imagine there's a number of times where you're, just like you go over to a friend's house for like a party or barbecue or something. Like, man, these people live so clean. I wish I could live that clean. And then you stop by unannounced one day and be like, hey, man, I thought I'd bring this over to you, and you're like, okay, so it's not exactly what I thought before. So I imagine that you guys are going into some spots that are like, I'm sure you've seen some pretty crazy stuff. And
there's a couple adventures, but at the end of the day, the way I like to say with that clean for the cleaners, because I grew up, my family had the service too, and I was always the same sort of thing, especially as a kid. Like, what's all this about? Why do we have to clean? And now I realize the more you tidy, the more we can clean. And there's now in my head, there's a distinct difference between tidying and cleaning, which is, again, not coming from this industry and growing up in the business, it really, that was eye-opening for me, to really realize that, like, okay, there is a distinction there, and that is something to be mindful of. And so part of that is, helping control that expectation with the customer. right? And so that they understand, hey, the more that you're kind of putting little items away or tucking things, in this corner, this and that, it really makes it much more effective for us to get the deeper clean and the cleaning done. So
That's a great point, and that's also one of the things why I want to talk to someone like yourself is that this is what I see from the outside, and then you
right.
say, well, this is why they do it because
Yeah.
it's better. Me, I just go, it's redundant, but there's an actual reason for it.
There's a
So
purpose.
yeah, so I just thought people didn't want people to know how dirty they were, but no, that makes a ton of sense because if you're spending your time, tidying when you're trying
Yep.
to get that deep before you get that deep clean, then it's a lot less efficient. Um, so what got you into Maidpro? Like why is that the avenue that you chose as far as to be a business owner of?
Sure, great question. So, I think it comes down to a handful of things. So when I was looking at different opportunities, was wanting something that was customer service focused. I think that was something that is something I enjoy, it's something I'm good at, and kind of wanted to continue on with. Wanted something with a recurring revenue model, somewhere, you weren't always constantly having to find a brand new customer. So
Mhm.
being able to rely on those regular, clients, that really has made a difference. I wanted something that had a team. I enjoy leading people and building a team and teams. So having, other people help do everything was something that I was looking forward to. Wanted something at an agreeable price point, capital investment. It takes dollars and cents to build the stuff too.
Mhm.
And then lastly was really looking at, okay, do I want to do something by myself or with a brand? And through that search, Maidpro came up, and they do business very similar to how I do business, professional but a little quirky, and so that was a good kind of mix. And so seeing how they do their stuff and say, okay, they can bring the industry knowledge, understanding what's been going on for decades. A lot of systems, the brand, the logo, the design, preferred vendor relationships, understanding of the cleaning process, which is something that I didn't really, spend a lot of my time professionally looking at. That along with my interest in building a team and working with people and helping take care of them and kind of having that hospitality heart, it was really a good match. And so, I think ultimately we've been able to build faster than being an independent operator, or
Mhm.
sometimes what I affectionately call the mom and pop with a mop. And, I think it's just a very different approach. That can work, this can work. But for me, yeah, it's worked really well.
That's awesome, and that's kind of goes back to what we were talking about before the show, where done is better than perfect, and how much time would set you back by trying to come up with that perfect logo. Do you pay somebody to create that logo? Do you create it on your own for free? But as you were saying
Yeah,
earlier, it's either time or money that we're spending.
exactly.
And would that have, if you spent 6 months trying to get the perfect logo out, would you ever get launched? Here's
Exactly.
now you can get to business by, hey, this is set up, ready to go. Let's turn it on now and get going. And I kind of want to step in your mind a little bit about when you were talking about being with Station Casinos, doing all that stuff. Obviously, you were an employee at that point.
True.
Um, I think there's a pretty big distinction between an employee mindset and a business owner mindset. And one of the things I used to work at I worked in hospitality as well at the Four Seasons as a server.
Nice.
So I got trained at very high level of hospitality.
Definitely.
But how I like to say, like, the difference between the employee mindset and the business owner mindset is I take it back into tables, waiting tables. Like, you
Okay.
go in, employee mindset says, I want more tables. I'm just
Mm,
going to serve more tables.
right.
Like, and I don't mean added more tables. I want more of the existing tables, where like a business owner would be like, let's add tables and add servers.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna like grow this exponentially. But my thought was, going from that employee mindset to that business mindset, was there something in you that was just like, here, I'm good where I'm at. I'm fine. I'm getting to lead people. I'm getting to do this, but I can't settle on knowing my ceiling. I need to see what else is out there. Is that
Mm.
describe you accurately at all? Like, where you wanted to be able to be in control of becoming more?
Yeah, I think, one of the other sort of thought leaders that I follow talks about, building your own infrastructure. And so I think how, kind of to your point, yeah, there's sort of a cap there, as an employee potentially versus, okay, how do you build systems and teams and companies potentially, or real estate, right, is another vehicle that can be used to sort of build that infrastructure to create, recurring revenue or money while you sleep. And I think it's a really great way to sort of accumulate assets to then be able to help and serve other people, right? And sort of, it's good, it'll take care of you as well as others. And I think, yeah, I think it's definitely a different approach. I think a lot of times, the person that's in the employee mindset is kind of an 8 and skate type person, or they can be, right? And they're just going to kind of come in, do what they got to do, and then go home and live their second shift is like their real life kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think when you're in the ownership mindset, you're kind of always you're always thinking about different ways to innovate or improve, or, worried about your team, or taking care of this, or did this client get, handled, and whatever. Like, so I think it's also just a different style of work, right? And so some people, they sort of fit better in one or the other, or they sort of enjoy one or the other. And so I think at some point, that was part of it, as well as I also really respect the employee and being W-2'd and being in that position, sort of, you're being paid to learn, and you're being, you're providing a value to that company. You're understanding what's going on. You're getting your bills paid. And I think, you have some flexibility there too, where there's potentially less, there's less responsibility on your shoulders. So when that happens, you can kind of like, okay, let me understand this a little bit better, this and that. There's less at stake in this sense, because the other way you can look at it too is, say you get into business ownership, at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, or something, doesn't not the right fit, you can always go get another job.
Yeah.
Like, so if you don't take that stab, you might wonder what if you're hardwired that way, right? I think, there's a risk there. And we were talking about Gary Vee and other people like that earlier. And so I think there's now a lot of pressure for people to just start a business when maybe they're not business owner, they're not interested in really being a business owner, but they just hear it's cool, or, oh, sounds kind of fun, or whatever. And you're like, dude, it's lonely at the top. Not a lot of other people can relate to you. You work all the time on something, even if you're thinking about it, that's work. And so I think, you have to really be ready for that. And so I think people should know themselves, right? That self-awareness and kind of EQ stuff, I think that conversation, the more and more that kind of enters the entrepreneurial land, like, that's going to be a good thing for people, so that they can find what's best for them. Like, you got to do what's right for you,
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that up and stated it that way, because I wasn't trying to like downplay the importance of an employee and that mindset. The reason I ask you is it because I see some people, and sometimes I'm envious of the fact that they're like, gonna go work, I'm gonna come home. I have a neighbor that comes home and garage door is open, TV's on, sports, and he's drinking beer
Exactly.
every weekday night. And he's got nights and weekends off. And I'm like, sometimes I go, it'd just be so nice just to be able to do that. But then I go, in 3 months, I could last for 3 months, because
Sure.
That's just how my mind is. And sure. It's not any better than anybody else. It's not any worse than anybody else. It's just, that's how mine is. So that's why I was curious to see
and
you're kind of that same way.
So to piggyback on that, that one of the people that I follow too, he talks about how freedom is one of the greatest assets you'll ever own. Mm-hmm. And so that, I think for different people that comes in different forms, but, he alludes to it certainly from the business owner's mindset, or, financial investor mindset, or something, or where there's that kind of that recurring, revenue component. And so, potentially though, for some people, if that freedom is good enough for the beer in the game, and that's their thing, yeah, like, then more power to them, right? But I think, kind of like to your point, and being wired more like you or me, and saying, okay, how do I build this infrastructure? How do I get, the right people in place, the right assets in place, so that now, your capacity for freedom is just at the next level, the next tier. Yeah, I think there's a lot out there. Like, people, if you don't know that it's out there, I think then they may not reach for it almost. Like, I think people have to sort of be conditioned to realize, wow, that's a possibility. And then once they see it's possible, or they see someone else doing it, it makes it more achievable, right? And like, kind of the same thing. I don't know the right analogy with the racing, or like, is it 6 minute mile, 4 minute mile, or something, like, no, so nobody broke it. 4 minute mile.
Roger Bannister.
And like one person got it, and now everyone did it, but it took that one person to really, like, kind of break through and prove to everyone else, like, hey, this is possible. So that's one of the other cool things, just to sort of tangent, is, being with the brand, and maybe you see it in your brand, where you can see the results of other agents or other offices, for in our case. So you've seen people who've been there, done that. They've built these infrastructures. You as an owner coming into the system, you see it's possible. And so that's a reminder that, okay, if I do the work, I find the right people, I find the right clients and people that believe in me, cool, I could do that too.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's neat to see that those examples of success and then kind of chase after it. Right.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely massive when you do see somebody else do it. I mean, especially in the entrepreneurial space, like we talk about business mindset and employee mindset, like when you go as an employee, you go on job interviews like once every how many years?
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, we're on interviews
Good.
multiple times a day.
Good.
No, we didn't get the job a lot,
A
right?
lot.
And it doesn't just mean, hey, you didn't get that contract, or I didn't get that sale, or that client decided they wanted to work with somebody else or whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, it could be a conversation of even, what it doesn't necessarily mean to be just that transaction, but we're constantly being turned down, and to be able to just like take that and go, all right, well,
Yep.
gift and shiv it. I mean, every day I'm learning more than I ever have in my life over the last few years, because I've been able to kind of say, you know what, take a chance, see what happens here. If it
Yep.
works out, it works out. If it doesn't, learn from it somehow.
And especially in those roles, I mean, we're basically all in sales, right? And so understanding how, I think a lot of people, when they have that, then they get a stigma. And we were kind of talking about that earlier a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, I think now I'm much more realizing, it's about finding the right fit. Like, you need something and I have it. Cool. Let's come together and let's make it happen. And like,
Absolutely.
and so the people that really, they see our service and our experience, and they see it in equal value to what they're spending and what they're committing to. And they're saying, okay, cool. Your arrival window works, your size of the team works, the pricing works, this cadence works, everything. Like, if that's the right fit and you're going to take care of me and I'm going to take care of you, it's a good match. Versus like, oh, let me just try and convince you about this something. It's like, those people, it's not worth the energy. Like, and so we're trying to get more efficient and effective at, getting past those people and not being worried about the no's, and really looking for those yeses, or, people that are really close to the yes, and trying to understand, okay, what is it that's really going to kind of like make this a good relationship and a good connection for you? Because this could be a really long-term thing. Again, kind of alluding to some of those, I like to call them legacy owners, people that have been with Maidpro more than 10 years, say. And, they have customers they've served that entire period. So there's a handful of customers that we've found so far that I feel like could be still, customers in
Yeah.
5 or 10 years if we continue to foster and cultivate those relationships. So that's really cool, I think, because it's not just a transaction. It's not just, oh, it's dirty, please clean it.
Well, yeah, and that is a couple things that you brought to mind in that is one, it's when you come back to freedom, is how many people really like to clean, and what can you be doing during the time that somebody's cleaning for you, and as far as like the time, like what do you do? So I was at this coaching course, a few years back, and this guy, he mowed his own lawn. Took him like an hour and a half, huge yard somewhere. I think it was actually up in Northeast, like in Boston area or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
And he was out in, doing that. Like, why are you doing that? You can pay somebody, $15 an hour to do that. And I think we do have these like limiting beliefs a little bit, especially when it comes to like cleaning. Like, you should have a clean home and you should be the one cleaning it. When the reality is why wouldn't you just pay somebody to do it, and then you go do what you wanted to do? Or maybe what you're worth is $200 an hour for while you're working. So is for you, is doing the laundry or cleaning the bathroom worth $200?
Right.
Like whatever. And if maybe it takes you 2 hours to do cleaning, it costs you $400 of your time when you could outsource that.
Right. And so look at the opportunity cost, right? I mean, that's really what you're getting at, is just sit there. It's like, okay, does it take you, an aggregate of 5+ hours over the course of a month, where you're constantly cleaning, or you clean one room a week or whatever, because that's all the amount of energy you're really willing to put into it. Okay, what's that worth? And that's opportunity cost of free time, potentially, or time with your kids or with your pets or with your spouse or whatever. I mean, like, I think all of a sudden people start to value that time very differently, even than their compensated work time, and so you could look at both buckets. And I think at the end of the day, a huge opportunity cost to just be like, man, that's one thing off my plate. Let me focus on the other things that either bring me more joy or ultimately bring more dollars into my family's ecosystem. And in my opinion, it's a no-brainer, right? I mean, it makes perfect sense. And I imagine that other people feel that way about other services.
Yeah.
right? Or whether it's a smartphone and the $100 a month for that, technology and the capacity that frees them up from doing a lot of other things, like any number of things could really be looked at very similarly. But I think, yeah, it's understanding, okay, how do you sort of outsource some of those tasks so that you can focus on something that is really your strength and or something you really want to enjoy or be doing. Yeah, like I said, I think that's something that really every family could benefit from, even in other ways.
Yeah, well, to your point of whether it's a financial cost or a time cost or a freedom cost, is
Yep.
it could be something as simple as once a week you take your family out for a walk for 30 minutes. Well, where you got that,
Yeah.
and you just, that a connection that can be, it's not, you can't even really put like a number on that, right?
Right, but it's value add, right, to your
Yeah.
family and those experiences, that helps shape culture and even now with everything going on, that's the next layer of engaged citizen, or
Yeah.
lessons or life lessons can kind of be taught in some of those moments, versus okay, here's this cleaning. I mean, sure, maybe you could teach them how to clean and the hard work and
Yeah. Yeah.
understanding,
I mean, yeah,
but
there's definitely lessons to be learned in that aspect as well.
yes,
Um,
sure,
but the other thing, there's a book I'm gonna recommend here in a second.
sure,
But the other thing that you'd mentioned is finding the right people and not spending, because in my experience,
yeah,
as I've been trying to grow a real estate team, I am finding myself that if I have to convince you now, I'm going to have to convince you in 3 months, in 6 months,
again,
in 9 months, and it becomes just so difficult.
totally,
But in this book here, Building an Empire by Brian Carruthers, definitely recommend checking it out. But what he talks about in there is he talks about you have a deck, 52 cards, and you're
okay,
flipping over for aces. He's
okay,
like, who's going to find the ace first? The guy
mm,
who flips through and finds the ace, or the guy who's trying to take that four and erase it and turn it into an ace? And
yeah,
so that's kind of his, like, you're going to spend all that time, and no matter what work you're going to do on that four, it will never truly be an ace. The ace is
right,
in there somewhere. And when you're looking through, when you're kind of basically he's saying that you're kind of sorting. This
right,
person is what I'm looking for. Don't vomit on them and tell them that they need all this stuff and try to force it onto them, because it's
yep,
probably not going to be a pleasant experience later. So I love that you touched on that as well. So now I want to kind of shift gears a little bit,
okay.
onto, obviously COVID has hit everyone in kind of a different way. Your service seems like it would be, it's almost weird because it seems like it would be, more people would want it because they want to be more clean, but also less people would want it because there's strangers coming in the home. What,
Exactly.
how have you, like, I mean, how have you dealt with that, and
Yeah.
what has been, like, major changes that you've seen so far?
It's a great question, and I agree. I think there's some solid catch-22 type situations that
Mhm.
are related to it. I think another layer, when things first happened, there was definitely people with health concerns or possibly job loss or income loss, right? There's a lot of belt tightening going on, and I think our business took a hit for that. And so now as people starting to become more certain and more comfortable and understanding, okay, wow, if somebody's cleaning, sanitizing, disinfecting, protecting me, I like to say that, hey, by hiring us, you're actually in better shape because now we're going to keep, fighting the germs along the way.
Yeah.
So I think there is a value there and still something to be mindful of. Understandably so, people are concerned. So, we're still wearing shoe covers and gloves and, being careful of social distancing and things of that nature, as well as, the team has gone through additional training and to just be, high touch areas and that kind of thing. As well as, again, just sort of another plug for being affiliated with a franchise and the power of the brand. Right when everything happened, we started jumping on calls about 3 times a week. They set them up, and now the leadership of the brand is saying, "Hey, we're all in this together," type stuff. Understanding what are the dynamics from an employee perspective, client perspective, funding perspective, cash flow for your business. How do you manage all of these different components and being a resource to help. You know, that's something that helped keep us ahead of the curve as a brand and really understanding. Okay, are there going to be essential businesses that now need sanitizing and disinfecting? They want to hire us when maybe they wouldn't have had before, and now there's demand, and maybe the existing companies can't fill that void. So there's a lot of different things, but I just appreciate how much care was really put forth from them, and really saying, wow, okay guys, what do you need? How do we make sure that you're successful, and doing everything they could to really help us stay open, right? And knowing not every small business is going to make it out of this thing, And so now, sort of to your point, or I can't remember if it was in there, sort of the next sort of piece of it is kind of the what's next, right? And sort of the long haul sort of piece. I think we are, at first I thought it was going to be sort of, we would be through it in maybe 3 months, and sort of the hard part would be over. I think unfortunately, as we've seen, it really is going to be a longer period of time. And so the best thing we can do is just continue to communicate with our customers and with our employees. And, I'm grateful that there are people that still want to come work and clean and help take care of those families and their homes. And so, we just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. They understand expectations, and that we're doing everything we can to mitigate those risks and really take care of their home and their family. So, I have a good feeling that it's not just going to, go away, and we're going to be here for another year or two. So, glad to be part of the solution.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So on a basic service, what could someone expect? Say, we're going to come in, we just want you to do, like, I guess you can kind of give us an idea of a couple different services that you offer. And then just kind of on a basic, like how would it go from phone call to first clean?
Okay, sure. So I think there's kind of, I would say 3 core services that we offer. The kind of the basic package is more of like what we call a 3-hour priority clean. And that's typically, someone who's looking for just anything one person could do in 3 hours. So when you think about that amount of time, typically that's kitchen, master bath, second bath, maybe, living room and doing kind of the floors. Okay. So someone who just sort of wants a, partial clean, we call it a priority clean. The core service that we offer is kind of our standard clean, 49-point checklist clean. I like to say we have this 49-point checklist that kind of guides our cleaning process. So when you think of sort of the kitchen, you're doing a top to bottom, let gravity help us and be in our favor. You start at the top, work your way down, exterior of all the cabinets and appliances, as well as inside the microwave, and then kind of all the way down, right, doing baseboards and floors, that kind of thing. That's kind of been our standard clean for the kitchen, the bathrooms, all the living spaces, your whole home. And we estimate that either over the phone or messenger or whatever the case may be. We don't actually have to come out in person to do that estimate. Saves you time, saves us time. And I really like that model. And then the next layer of cleaning, if you will, is sort of that deep clean. Like some people say, like, oh, my house really needs a deep clean, or especially folks like yourself, where you may have a property coming up for sale, you're about to list, or just closed, and people are moving in, and they really want to make sure that it's cleaned at the next layer. So with those services, we do basically our 49-point checklist, and then we typically add up to 4 additional things, which is dusting the blinds, inside the fridge, inside the oven, as well as inside all cabinets and drawers. So that's really like kind of that next layer. And so when you really think about it, really that's sort of a nice sort of starting, middle, top sort of layers. Mm-hmm. And then we do a very little bit of commercial cleaning. We have some small commercial offices that will help, once or twice a week kind of thing. But the core of the business is residential and taking care of people. We do that, typically that core middle service every other week or once a month. And I'd say that's the vast majority of our business.
All right, perfect. Do you by chance have any tips for anyone? Like we kind of discussed earlier a little bit about, tidying up and things like that, but in between cleans or anything to kind of maybe get the longevity out of, so it's not like you leave, it's perfectly clean, and then we just destroyed it, tornado went through, and now next week you're starting back over from step one.
The kids were left back in the house, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So one of the tips that I like to give people is something that we actually do, on all of our cleans, is actually we use multiple colored towels. So people don't think about this. And even when I was hiring a company before, I started Maidpro, I was like, I never thought about the different towels. So let me explain. If you go to the kitchen and you clean the kitchen, and then you go to the bathroom and you use the same towel, you're transferring those germs. And so think of it the other way. If you clean the bathroom first, and now you go to your kitchen where you're preparing your food and you're bringing all those germs with you, that's kind of gross. So one of the things that we do to help make sure that our team prevents that cross-contamination is we actually use a separate color of towels for the bathroom as well as for the kitchen. So now that those are 2 different things, they're not going to mix. There's not going to be germs that are migrating from one space to the other. And I think that, I really recommend that people, in their own home and in their own cleaning time, that they have 2 sets, so that way they're protecting themselves and their family.
Perfect. No, that's a great idea, because then you don't have to go, hey, which one was this for?
Right.
Such a simple hack to just be like, this one's always, the orange one's always for the bathroom. Always.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's awesome. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with anybody that you think that would be great for somebody, either looking for your service or, thinking about it? Is there anything that you would share to them, or maybe even a business owner, somebody thinking about getting into business?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think, we were talking a little bit earlier about just the value of attention as the asset, right? And like getting, on the podcast or vlogs or whatever, for a little while we were building out our YouTube channel. So I recommend people, check that out for a deeper dive on me and some of our business and some of the things that we've sort of, our approach to things. So even just in YouTube, you can type in Maidpro Henderson and we'll show right up. So that would be kind of my thought, is like, hey, feel free to hit me up. It's the same as you did. I'm happy to share time and insight and learn from other people too. So always looking to collaborate and that kind of stuff.
Perfect. So if somebody they're ready to go right now, how can they get in contact with you and set up, their first clean?
Yeah. So there's really the two easiest ways. If you're a phone person, you can just call us 702-534-6701, or you can go to our website, maidpro.com/Henderson-NV. And then there's actually you just key in your zip code and there's an estimate form. You fill that out and either someone here locally or from our sales team in Boston will reach out.
Awesome. Michael, pleasure to have you on. Thanks for sharing everything you're doing. I'm rooting for you and hope to see you continue with your success.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great one.